Simple is simplify processes, amplify results. Simple is.
I would like to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I know we had a lot of registrations and some of the people cannot join us and they would be watching the recording. So big thank you for all of you watching the recording. So the whole intent of today's presentation is to cover um, all the myths surrounding this Khotwa scholarship. And we are really thankful for Person for being here because Lone Star is not only one of the largest community colleges in the United States, but they host one of the largest cohort from this program. And I believe they were one of the first ones to start receiving Khotwa students. So Person can be a great resource for anyone that is beginning to host these students or is interested in hosting students from this specific scholarship. Um, so let's dig in. And how do I come into the picture? I just briefly want to touch on that. So I am the founder of an organization called SimpleLed. We are strategic partner with CCID and other associations and organizations that work very closely with community colleges. So recently we hosted about 9 community colleges from United States, and we went to UAE, did workshops in different high schools in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and we also visited Mindbase headquarters and ADEC headquarters to meet the Khotwa scholarship team, ask questions, and do a meet and greet session with the whole team. We are recreating this opportunity in fall, so if anyone is interested in joining us, please feel free to email me and we can discuss the details of the program. With that being said, let's find out what actually is Khotwa scholarship. So this is a very, very unique scholarship for 2 primary reasons. One, usually we see that scholarships are aimed at high achieving students, but this is one of the scholarships that is actually not aimed at high achieving students. This is meant for students who might not have the language proficiency or might not be doing extremely well in their academics. So this scholarship is open to those students as well. And that is why they have chosen to make sure that these students go into community colleges first, get the support that they need, and then go on to enroll in a university and get their bachelor's degree. And this is an initiative from the Abu Dhabi Education and Knowledge Department, which is also known as ADEC or ADEC, um, which is the short form for referring to them. So you'll see we will use the term ADEC over and over again throughout this presentation. So we are just referring to the Abu Dhabi Education and Knowledge Department. Um, the other thing is that in order to qualify, you have to be a Emirati student from UAE. You do not have to be from Abu Dhabi, but you have to be an Emirati student. And this program started with United States for community colleges in the United States, but now there are institutions in Australia, New Zealand that are also part of the scholarship program. And this scholarship is designed to provide comprehensive financial support along with living expenses and other costs associated with doing their higher education in a community college. Now, the objective of this program is very simple: to empower the young generation of UAE and make sure they can help UAE be the workforce of tomorrow. So that is what this scholarship is focused on. And I think there have been other similar scholarships in the Middle East, but I think what this scholarship does um, greatly is identifies the challenges of those scholarships and tries to address them in multiple different ways. And Person will talk about what those new methods are. And of course, they want their students to be global citizens to expose them to an international audience and international education and people from many different cultures. And studying abroad is one of the best ways to do that. As we already know, Dubai is a melting pot of the world, and more people are immigrating to UAE. So it's going to be great for Emirati students to have that intercultural competence and really, assimilate in the workforce of tomorrow. So now, who can apply for this scholarship? As I already mentioned, you have to be a UAE national who has completed their secondary education, which is a prerequisite for applying for this scholarship. And then you must meet the academic and personal development criteria that has been set by ADIC. Of course, ADIC has a lot of advisors on staff that these students work with, and they help them identify these criteria. They also help them choose what institution could be a good fit for them. So as a whole, the Khotwa scholarship team is trying to make sure that all the students that come into United States or any other parts of the world, they're not all going to one specific institution or one specific state. So they're trying to make sure that students are going to many different parts of the world and many different parts of the United States. So that is where there is a little bit of push and pull between students' choices and what the advisors think is the right fit for them. And preference is given to students pursuing undergraduate programs specifically in certain fields. However, whatever I will share in this presentation, please keep in mind that the information is evolving and they're always adding more fields of studies to the program. So currently, these are the field of studies that they encourage students to get their degrees in. However, as I mentioned, there are many other fields that they keep adding to the program. But as you can see, all of these fields traditionally, if we look at the data of students studying abroad in any of the countries, including IIE's Open Doors report, we see these are the programs that international students typically tend to study when they go abroad. So there are no surprises here. So why should institutions be interested in the Khotwa scholarship and what to expect, right? So one of the things is that you don't have to worry about the tuition because the government takes care of that. Again, accommodation and living expenses are also taken care of. So students can just focus on upskilling themselves and focusing on their personal development. Health insurance and travel allowances are also provided by the government. And the great initiative that the UAE government has taken is providing students resources even when they come and enroll into these international programs. So for example, if a student comes to United States and enrolls in Lone Star College, they will definitely have access to all the resources that Lone Star have, but they will not lose access to the advisors back home. So they will continue to work with them, which of course can offer additional support both for the institutions, host institutions, and also for the students. Now, I think as you already must have guessed, there are a lot of benefits from the students' perspective. They don't have to pay for it. They get to learn a lot of new skills in a new country. And of course, that really adds to their professional development. Internships are also part of this program, and career counseling and job placement will be provided to them once they graduate, which is something that is so critical because sometimes students are used to a lot of resources, but as soon as they graduate, they're on their own. So that is a great initiative. Along with that, there is a boot camp that students have to attend before they depart from UAE. So that is an additional step. Think of it like a pre-departure orientation where they get to learn about various things that they should expect once they start studying abroad, ranging from cultural competence to how to get assimilated, how to make friends, the academic structure of the country that they're visiting, so on and so forth. So that can be tremendously beneficial. When I was an international student, I just landed here and I had to learn a lot of things on my own. So I think that would be really helpful for students. And it's not something that they do it over a one day. It's an actual multiple week program that students are a part of. So when they arrive on your campuses, they have a good understanding of what to expect, which is critical for their success, especially in the first semester, because for international students, first semester is always the most challenging. So with that being said, I will hand it over to Person, who's currently hosting a lot of Khotwa students and working very closely with their scholarship team. So Person, thank you so much for joining us. Over to you.
Thank you, Yasser, and thank you everybody for taking the time to join us today for this webinar. Like Yasser said, I have the honor and privilege of serving as the Executive Director for International Programs here at Lone Star College in Houston, Texas. And we are one of the first institutions that ADIC piloted this program with in the United States, where they would send students to a community college before they could transfer out to universities.
So the first question that we have, Person, is does the scholarship apply to law programs or LLM students?
That is a good question. So like Yasser mentioned, there are a list of programs or programs of study that students can be taking while they're in the United States. I believe that political science is one of them, but I'm not 100% sure if law is. Again, we do have to keep in mind that, professional degrees like that, like teacher education or law, or even like, the pilot program, like Lone Star has the pilot program, those students are not allowed to be in those programs. Only because they are required to go back and serve in their country. So programs like that would require the student, to take the bar exam again in their country or get recertified in their country. What they want to do is they want students to get the education and just go right into the workforce. So they have kind of selected those, but I think it would be good to kind of check on their website. They do have those published, Yasir. So the programs of study. So that would be a good starting point to see, what are the programs of study that are approved for the scholarship.
Great. And the second thing I can add to that is that there is a handbook that is a PDF format. It's available online, but if you have trouble finding it, we can definitely email it to you. So feel free to email us and we will send you that handbook.
Moving along, I guess, how can U.S. colleges participate in the program? One of the ways, of course, is, like Yasser mentioned, he does take trips, for U.S. institutions and other institutions, to the UAE, because now we have a partnership with ADEC, to get to know the institution, to get to know, what are some of the ways that you can collaborate with them. You have to be on their list of approved schools. Again, like previously mentioned in the webinar, ADEC has their own academic advisors, which means that, once a student is approved and eligible and selected for the program, that they are advising students as to, which institution would be a good fit. So you can, you need to get onto that list. And again, like I said, part of that would be, making those connections either on the trip through emails or whatnot, or through some info sessions with, the ADEC managers and officers. Now, universities that do provide specialized programs that meet, their requirements in terms of, for example, most of their students may not have a very high English proficiency, straight coming out of high school, or maybe like a semester of college or something. So if you have an ESOL program, that would be very beneficial, because most of them are going to go into, the ESOL program. At our institution, they're really testing at levels like, 2 and 3, which are pretty low, because we have 5 levels of ESOL until you can move on to an associate degree. So with that, we can move on to the next one. Talking a little bit more about the support services for students from this program. I will tell you that our experience, we've been hosting these students for the last, I think 2.5, almost 3 years now. We had our first cohort of students was about 10 students, and then we kept receiving, multiple cohorts over the years. And I think today we have almost 30 students from this program. I would say that, looking at, so reading the slides, pre-arrival orientation. So we do a lot of extras for this group of students, understanding that, they come from, a very different background. They have requirements to meet, not just ADEC requirements, but also, your institution's requirements. Also, if, an F1 student as an international student in the United States or in other countries, if there are government regulatory restrictions that they might have. So it's really overwhelming for a student to have to, navigate all of this by themselves, just like any other international student. But keeping in mind that there is a major cultural difference. a pre-arrival or pre-departure orientation would be, very beneficial for institutions to have. So once you have a cohort of students selected for your institution, I would say, have multiple sessions of some pre-arrival orientations, helping them adjust, and most importantly, setting those expectations that, hey, when you come to the United States, this is what you will be expected to do. Students do go through a little bit of, that orientation, but it's very specific to ADEC requirements because it's a government-sponsored scholarship. They have a bunch of requirements that the student has to meet in order to maintain eligibility in the program for ADEC. Otherwise they're going to pull the scholarship or they're going to pull the stipends for the students. Another thing I would say, which would be really, really beneficial, is to look around and see, for example, in Houston, our campuses are spread across a lot of, a big area. We have about 27 different instructional sites. And the program requires that if a student is still in the ESOL program, that they're housed with a host family. But also there is just a little bit there where it's, you would want to look to see, is this going to be a viable option? It's only once students get to the associate level, like a degree-seeking college student, that's when they're allowed to, have apartments and live on their own. Ongoing academic, cultural, and social support during their studies, of course, just like we provide for every other international student, that would be very, very beneficial. There's a little bit of, more hand-holding until they get to a point where they're, more independent and kind of acclimated with, what to expect in the United States. We do have to, I think, keep in mind that, this could very well be the student's first time in the United States. Sometimes not, but most times it is, where, they absolutely have no idea what to expect. And setting those expectations from the get-go will be very, very beneficial for, the institutions. Again, access to mentorship networks. Like Yasser mentioned previously, ADEC provides a great support system for the student. So not only do they have academic advisors in the UAE that are, that's taking them through, their program that's eligible for the scholarship, making sure they are maintaining that eligibility for the scholarship, but they also have in-country mentors. So ADEC partners with a company called Mind-Based Education, and they provide in-country mentorship for the students. So there is a mentor, say, for example, a local mentor in Houston through Mind-Based, and they would be providing that support and, to these students. And it could be all kinds of acclimation support. So how do you get a driver's license? Most of them will want to buy a car if there is not much public transportation, close to the institution. How do you get your driver's license? How do you go get a car? How do you get an apartment lease? So the good thing is that, you're not burdened. Your office is not burdened with, that kind of support, because they do have these local mentors that are helping them. This process does run on a very long cycle. So I think once students apply, they are looking at anywhere between, almost like 3 to 6 months or sometimes longer for that acceptance decision to be made by ADEC that they're now eligible or accepted into the program. And once, they are accepted in the program and there's a selection of school that is made for them, then, they go on and start, corresponding with that institution directly. Now, again, like previously mentioned, the selection is based on academic performance, personal achievements, and also, does it align with the national priorities of the country? The final approval, after the final approval, that's when, like I said, students, once they receive that approval, they do go through that rigorous, several weeks of orientation, cultural adjustment, even a little bit of, language, developing their language proficiency before they actually come to the United States. Now, Shama, she was one of our students from the very first cohort that we received in spring of 23. And, just seeing her journey throughout Lone Star College has just been fantastic. She started with ESOL, just like every other, ADEC student that we have received. And, she did place pretty low on the ESOL test scores. She is now part of the Honor Society. She gives presentations at our International Education Biennial. So we have about 3 or 4 female students in this cohort, and they're just so much more driven because they know that they cannot take any of this for granted, which I think is wonderful. But again, just reading on her success stories, what she has done. She wanted to be part of the International Education Committee, the International, Student Club. Now she's part of the Honor Society. She's just doing so much and handling it so well. So definitely wanted to highlight that.
Hello, thank you so much for watching this recording. I hope you found it useful and valuable. My name is Yasir and I'm the founder and CEO of Simple Ed. At Simple Ed, we do amazing international education events throughout the year, so please check out our website and find out more information.